All right, it's showtime here on AI Mistakes. And boy, do we have some entertainment for you tonight. Not just a discussion of what's new in AI, but we're going to dive in and talk about the latest and greatest model, GPT-5. There is some real excitement around this model, but it may not be exactly the excitement you were looking for. We'll set the stage for the latest release of GPT-5, see what we can learn about the reactions that people are having, and we definitely have some mistakes that we can talk about and learn from in our episode today. Boy, do we have an interesting program tonight. Got some great things happening in the world of GPT-5, the release of a brand new model this week. What an exciting week in a couple of different ways. And I would say that this release has been disruptive in ways that OpenAI did not want to be disruptive. When we talk about the use of GPT-5, we're talking about the use of a model that's very, very popular. And unfortunately, we've had some challenges. While we were holding our breath, we were introduced. Sam let us know that something big was coming. Unfortunately, the AI Safety Memes account was a little too on point with their response here. I felt a great disturbance in the force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out. And that was quite a prescient reply, because what we actually saw happen was not good, right? Developers were very frustrated. We had all sorts of problems with the routing. We had challenges around the use of APIs, and it just altogether wasn't a great story. Now, not all of that was Sam's fault, of course, but we have to talk about what happened here with the GPT-5 launch. We're also going to dive into the details of what happened with GPT-5, and is there anything that the rest of us need to take away from what we've learned? So let's start with the hype machine, because I think this absolutely had to be a factor that was involved here, right? When we talk about what has been coming, just calling it GPT-5 made it a big deal, right? I mean, this was no small release. And then Sam was hyping it up because that's what he does. I mean, that is his job. Now, we do have to go back a little bit. I mean, if we just go back to the release of 4.5, there are a lot of things that we were observing, and this is one of them. And Ethan really made a great point here, right? When you go into ChatGPT before this release, you've got a page full of models to choose from. And there were a lot of people that were criticizing that there's a lot of choices here. And, what do we do with all of these? And I think that some of that criticism was absolutely deserved. But on the flip side, I don't think that jumping straight to taking everything away and jumping to a single model was exactly the right answer. So when we look at what happened, okay, it's just straight up. This was framed as a major model progression. GPT-5 is the PhD level expert. And that's not been the experience of everyone using the model. Now, what's interesting is if you look at some of the details that were exposed early on by people that were allowed to use the model ahead of time, they were saying some things. They were very impressed with what was coming out. But Sam not only took those comments and shared them, and we'll go through those in just a minute here, but he did a little more, right? Like he was really stoking that fire and pushing the envelope with the language he was using to describe the situation. And he's been talking about this AGI thing for a long time, right? We've been tying the output of OpenAI to AGI, and this GPT-5 being described as an AGI moment. And I'm just, You know, it's I was really disappointed with the live stream as well. There were a lot of mistakes in the way that they did that. Now, look, I know what it's like to do a live presentation. We're doing it right here, right now. And when you're doing something live, sometimes things don't go right, especially demos. And honestly, look, my day job is basically giving live demos and explaining AI to people all over the world. I know what this is like. I understand the pressure that they're under, but there has to be a balance to the way that we do this, and I think that's the thing that is really missing from the situation. Now, not only did they release this new model, they stacked it with a major shift in the way that things work. So this is a mixture of models, not a mixture of experts. So they fundamentally changed the way the model works. They released the new model and then they stacked it by unilaterally deprecating every other model. And they didn't need to do that. There's absolutely no real good reason for them to have taken away the older models, at least not all at once. I mean, look, let's be honest here, right? There's still an API that's available. So they're running the models. I get it. There's a capacity challenge. I mean, when we released 4.5, that launch didn't go well because they ran out of space in the data center. They didn't have enough GPUs to run the load. Now, I think that there's a lot to be said for people wanting to bang on the model, but again, OpenAI was in control of exactly how this was released, and they didn't need it to be a loss of control for us. The explanation of the router system was not forthcoming in terms of how you could know what you were getting. And in fact, this too was a problem because their so-called model router broke right after the release. So people were using this and then discovering that it wasn't working. And my experience as well was that honestly, so far, I'm not impressed with GPT-5. Now, have I had enough time to play with it since noon yesterday? No, admittedly. There's still a lot more that could be done. The couple of things that I had an opportunity to try over the last 24 hours, I had it build an app for me to demonstrate this router concept, and it has not gone well. In fact, it was so not gone well that I can't even show it to you. So I spent a lot of time trying to build something that didn't work for me. Well, I say I built it. I was asking GPT-5 to build it, which that is part of the claim in GPT-5. We can use this to do amazing and cool things. And I tried to do amazing and cool things, and my results were not quite so good. But this is the jagged edge, right? I mean, we know when we use these kinds of capabilities that some things are going to work really well and other things not so much. But OpenAI has sort of stacked that in a bad way. I really don't think that this was a good release for them. It doesn't mean they're not going to recover from it. It doesn't mean that they didn't actually build a great model here. If the folks that have been sharing their stories are to be believed, it is an incredible model that does amazing things. And even Sam is saying it does amazing things. His statements are hyperbolic, but what we don't know is what AI influencers are being paid to say that this is the greatest thing since sliced bread and how much of it is actual good results. We don't know yet. And the only way we're going to know is with the passage of time. And look, there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of conversation happening. Have you been on social media at all following folks that do AI, you know that a lot of folks were saying this is slow, it's acting dumb. We're getting all sorts of basic failures. Um, I mean, look, we've been here and there with strawberry. We've added blueberry to the mix, and they were both completely wrong for people that we're seeing. And they've shared their images on social media. Um, so obviously, not everybody's a paid AI influencer because we're seeing results that are not all entirely good. But this bug with the routing was a real problem. And I think, look, this is the challenge. You have a company that has been developing cutting edge AI capabilities, and they're trying to drive numbers of consumption with their infrastructure that the world has really never seen. I mean, the numbers that OpenAI is fielding in terms of responding to AI requests is at the level of a major cloud provider like AWS in the early days. I mean, these are some seriously complex systems with a lot of compute that have to be managed and run. So it is a technically complex environment they're dealing with. And they're trying to address those challenges with mechanisms that can offload and better manage the compute, because you also don't want the most intelligent model that does reasoning to answer to the "Hi, what's your name?" question. And there are real technical challenges with this. And again, working with an AI platform in my day job, these are real things that have to be dealt with. You have to solve those problems because there's real, actual operational challenges to making these things come together and work well. But, again, OpenAI chose their path here. And this is another one of those where I'm a little miffed as a user, right? I've got a Plus subscription. I'm doing the $20 a month. I have been paying OpenAI the entire time because I get a lot of value out of it. I really do. But I was excited. I got the GPT-5 release nearly right away. I closed the app and restarted. It came up, and hey, you know what? It's beautiful. I'll be honest. I like it. You got a little background note here. It's kind of pretty to look at. There's some good stuff going on here, but this isn't so great. Like, I've got one choice. And honestly, like, I don't even know why I have this menu, because all I've got is GPT-5 thinking, and I can't do pro because this is just an add to upgrade. So, like, I don't need a double menu. This is dumb. Like, don't do this. This is what you do when you hate your users, okay? Can we not do that, please? I want to be able to use the app, okay? And there are certain things that I've grown accustomed to where I can control the model, because there are things that I want to run and I want them to be the smart model every single time. And then there's stuff that I do that I just don't care. And if you want to rank that down or use a lower processing model for that, great. I'm cool with that. But don't make a decision for me and give me absolutely no control and just ripping out the other models. I mean, we're on the live broadcast, and I tweeted a reaction because they said they were deprecating the other models. Now, I don't know what your definition of deprecation is, but in my world, when you deprecate something, that means you're telling people it's going away, but you give them time before it actually goes away. Okay, a noon live stream, and then 2 hours or less in my case later, all of the options are gone. I'm not impressed. Like, and if you do marketing, if you do sales, if you do anything around customer support, you don't abuse your customers. Come on, OpenAI, you can do so much better than this. I'm just really kind of disappointed. Also, I mean, if you pay $200 a month, you get unlimited access to the great model, which, hey, that's great. They're paying more. I get it. Totally cool. But then the free users got access to GPT-5 too. So don't tell me that you're running out of compute when you decide to open it up to free users on the first day. Like that, you had a choice. Take care of the people that are paying you. And then here's the real fun one. I didn't even know this until I started researching it today, because I hadn't tried it with the new GPT-5, but voice mode isn't even running 5. They're using 4.0 for that. Why don't I have a choice? This is what I don't understand. I don't agree. They could do so much better. And many people are reacting in the same way. And I think they deserve it. Now, Elon, look, he's going to claim Grok 4 Heavy is amazing because it is. It's doing very well with the benchmarks. And when you compare the benchmarks between them, yeah, he might have a point. But this is also a very dynamic environment. what's interesting is the prediction market Polymarket actually showed a collapse in confidence with this release. That's really bad. There's a lot of people that rely on Polymarket because wisdom of the crowd, right? And then from an upgrade standpoint, I mean, it was just so overhyped based on the results that we're seeing. When we look at what happened, there's so many interesting things. If you go take a look at Sam Altman's X, you'll see that there's been a lot of hyping going on, like the rollout coming up after he tweeted that image of the Death Star. He just kept on going. And then we talk about the charts. The charts. That wasn't great. And I maybe they were using an older model of ChatGPT to make their charts. Yeah, that's not a good story. But you just have to laugh. Like, Sam's out here, model switching is very cool. Yeah, it is when it works. Okay, so look, enough. Okay, I get it. They had a tough time. They're fixing it. I haven't seen the better results yet, but I think we're going to get there. I think this is an improvement. I think they've done some things that make a lot of sense for optimizing, but we just have to get through the process of the upgrade and the challenges that we've had, because the pricing is impressive. The way that they've architected this as a mixture of models means that they can dramatically change the pricing. This is now dramatically cheaper than Claude. It's on a level that I think makes sense. And when you look at the release of the OpenAI model earlier, where now you can actually download the open source version of the OpenAI models and run that on your own machine, they have to be optimizing to continue to get that service now, because there's a lot of compute that can run this in the data center. But it doesn't get them out of the criticism completely, because we just have to solve this back problem. And what we saw with Sam actually is he's admitted that it's a problem. And if you go back to where we are today, after you get past all of the hyperbole with how great it is and how well it's placing, and that it's super smart, they did do a rapid rollout, but again, that's something they control. And when they did 4.5, they didn't have to roll it out that fast. But they did have to already double the rate limits for Plus users. They already understand that what they started with wasn't a good place, and they're going to let Plus users choose to use 4.0. So they've announced this. I don't know when they're turning it back on. I don't know what's taking them so long. If they could roll out 5 in 2 hours, I don't know why they can't give me 4.0 back sooner. But I will give them credit, because I have been using the model to do scheduled tasks since they released that capability. It's been very predictable. My scheduled jobs are running on time. They don't seem to be substantially affected by the model change. So there were some things that they definitely did right. And I don't want to overstate how bad things are, but I do want to call out that there's just a lot of opportunity to do better here, because you do a demo and you claim that everything is a PhD level expert, and then the demo you do shows some real flaws. I don't know. I feel like some of this, it was a matter of staging. Some of this was a matter of presentation. The hype story, I think, only made it worse. And they're just going to need time to recover their reputation after this, at least in my book. I'm using all of the models today. I've got on my desktop, I've got Perplexity, I've got Gemini, I've got Grok, I've even got Llama, which I don't use very often. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that later this year with all of these developments. But I think where I want to leave us in the conversation today is what can we learn from the changes that OpenAI made with the model? The very first thing I want to call out here is when you abuse your users, you're going to pay the price. And trust is something that it takes a lot of time to earn. We've all seen the comments about hallucinations. But honestly now, I'm every time there's a new release of a model now, I'm going to think twice about how I am using their services and capabilities and relying on them for my work. That is a real factor. And when you are running a business or a capability, you have to focus on retaining that trust. The fumbled launch shows really that uh, the valuation of OpenAI, I think, is kind of inflated. That they're a lot more fragile than anybody has been thinking, and there's going to be some implications to that. I do have to say I'm really excited that OpenAI released an actual open model. Like that is a huge development. And if they'd waited a week, maybe that's the video we'd be doing right now. Um, and I think it's been a great development, and there's going to be some things that we take away and learn from that. But right next to that trust element is how can we be sure in working with our user base that we are doing the right things. Don't do a rug pull. Don't disrespect people by changing things on them unnecessarily. It didn't need to happen that way. And then from a technical execution standpoint, look, I'm a DevOps guy, okay? Canary deployments, like, why does everything have to change at once? Just go slow. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. People are going to wait. And transparency is an important thing here. I will admit that Sam has been pretty good about responding and sharing information, at least on social media. It's not showing up in the ChatGPT interface, but he's being transparent, right? Here's the thing. We underestimated how much people were using GPT-4o. We weren't really thinking about that. We need good ways for different users to customize things. And they have to get things stable. So it's rolled out across all, and this is just a few hours ago today. It's rolled out everywhere for pro users and close to that for everyone. And I'm sure there's been some heroic work. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. I've been in the IT business for a long time. There's somebody that didn't get sleep last night. I could virtually guarantee that. But at the same time, I think that being clear about what's happening and sharing those kinds of details with the audience is really important going forward. And despite all of the mistakes with the rollout, despite that initial router experience being absolutely horrible, despite the auto switcher being out of commission, despite people letting them know that they didn't get what they needed, I do think that they have been responding. And for a company that is still very much in startup mode, there's so many things about OpenAI that are still very startup. They are becoming a critical part of the infrastructure of the internet and of our daily lives. I mean, I use this stuff every day in one way or another, whether it's for offhanded questions or for my scheduled tasks. But the more we can learn from what's happened here, I think the better. And as we continue to dive into these AI mistakes, let's learn from it, right? Both in the way that we're using these tools and in how we're interacting with the rest of the world. I really do hope you're playing with these capabilities on a regular basis and doing experiments all the time. The only way that anyone becomes an expert in this space is by experience. It is time on task. And we are in the middle of a major shift. And regardless of the reasons that companies are changing the number of people that they have in order to do the work that needs to be done. You want to be at the forefront of this. You want to find the ways to make yourself into the expert. Learning from these situations is what everybody wants. Every day I have a conversation with a new company, and the most common question that I get asked is, what is the best way to do this? And the only way you can answer that question is to study it, is to work with it, get your hands dirty, and learn about it from other people by sharing those experiences. That's what we're driving with the community. And I hope that you're getting value out of these studies. We're going to continue to ramp up the study of AI mistakes as we get deeper and deeper into the area of generative AI. I look forward to seeing you again next time on the program. Stop by the website. Got a newsletter that's about to hit again here in a couple of days. And in the meantime, go make some AI mistakes.